obviously Fight Week's upon us here in Manchester. I think you're undefeated in England in the UFC. So I'm curious, like, how's Fight Week been? Preparation, featherweight in Manchester, all that.
It's always better when I'm in my own country. Obviously I don't have to travel too far. Home comforts, if you like. Obviously I'm a few hours from home, so I am staying here in the hotel. But yeah, good. 145 is obviously a lot easier for me to make weight-wise. So, I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I just need to go in there Saturday night and do the job.
Does it feel more like fight night, even though you are fighting in the UK, like you do have to go to the fighter hotel and everything? Because we've talked to some fighters that even though they fight in their hometown, they still like to keep the routine of, fighter hotel and everything like that rather than sleeping in their own home.
I always prefer being in my own home. I'm just a home comfort guy, I like my family around me. Obviously my dad's my coach, so I'm lucky to have him here with me at the hotel. But yeah, the UFC make everything easy for us. So we've got the Institute now, we've got all of this stuff here. So if you like, we're spoiled.
Now, so you're fighting Daniel Pineda. He's obviously been in the UFC for quite a while, had a little bit of a break, they brought him back. So was he ever on your radar coming up, or did you just start thinking about him when they presented the name?
So I've seen the name only because he fought previous opponents that I've had. So I've looked at his fights when studying other opponents. But yeah, as you say, he's been in the game for a very long time. He's very experienced. I think he fought Mike Brown back in UFC 1, 3 something, a long time ago. So, obviously I put respect on his name. He's been in the game for a very long time. So, good matchup. Comes to fight, and yeah, I look forward to fighting him on Saturday night.
And I don't think he's ever fought to a decision win. All of his victories have been by stoppage, most of them coming by submission. So what kind of fight are you expecting from him? Because even though like the losses he's had to like Andre Fili, I know that was a no contest, but he wasn't getting put away. He just kind of kept coming forward.
So obviously he's tough as old boots. He's a veteran. He's obviously a fighter. So I know that I'm going to need to put him out to finish him. He's very tough. So I expect him to be very durable. He, from what I see in his fights, looks like he gasses quite a lot. So, maybe that's why he's not winning decisions as much, because he's more of a, if he can't get the stoppage straight away, he maybe deteriorates in the fights. So, I'm confident with my skill set that I'm going to go in there and do the job. And yeah, I just need to put my money where my mouth is.
And the final one for me, I don't know if you saw, but the Association of Boxing Commission passed some new rules that on November 1st they're going to allow 12 to 6 elbows, and they've redefined what a grounded opponent's going to be. I'm curious, what do you make of these new rule changes and them going into effect in November?
It's fine with me. Yeah, at the end of the day we're fighting. I think grounded opponents a long time ago should have been both knees on the floor or your back on the floor. This all touching the floor and then coming off, I think is too deceiving. It's just confusing your opponent, and it's not a downed opponent. If we was wrestling, I would need to take you down and put you back on the mat for it to count as a takedown. So yeah, I'm glad they just, it works for me. It means that I can do more in my skill set.
Is that frustrating when not every commission has the same rules for a grounded opponent? Some of them is one hand, some of them is two hands. Does that go into like you choosing fights, or is it that complicated?
It doesn't really affect me too much, but it can be a little bit confusing, But obviously the UFC before always have the ref come and give us the rule breakdown, etc. So we always just before the fight will ask, but it would be nice to know exactly what we can do.
Nathaniel, like fighting on home soil, but we're fighting on US time zone, which is a bit of a weird one for all the Brits fighting on the card. Just wondered, what changes have you made in terms of making sure you're going to be peaking on fight night? And obviously, having Brad fought at 204 in the middle of the night last time, I wondered what experiences he's been able to share with you from that to help prep you for this.
So me personally, I go to sleep quite late anyway. I'm usually going to bed at midnight, 12:30, that sort of thing on a normal day. So all I've done is just increase my time a little bit. I don't think I'm going to need to change my regime, if you like, to have a fight at 2:30. If someone knocked on my door saying that someone's robbing my car or something at night, I'm not going to have an issue getting awake. So the adrenaline rush, etc., that will all kick in for me. For someone like Tom Aspinall, it might be a lot worse because he's at 5 a.m. But yeah, for me, I just need to stay up a couple of more hours, and I've done a few late night sessions just to test it out and see how I feel, and I have no issues once the music's on and my coach has got the pads on. I'm good to go.
And you mentioned earlier about feeling much happier at 145 pounds. Just give us a sense of how much better it is to be able to just get in there with that extra 10 pounds on the frame and not have to make that really tough weight cut down to 35.
It just means I can have a life. You know, the cuts to 135, let's say that for the camp, 6 weeks of it, I'm miserable. If I fight 3 times a year, 6, 12, 18 weeks of the year, I'm not enjoying what I'm doing. You know, I'm not enjoying it at all, and that's the whole reason why I do this sport, because one, obviously it pays me very well, but it didn't for the first 10 years, so the enjoyment is what I do it for. When you start to take that away, why am I doing it? You know, I may as well go and get a job. So I thought, instead of doing that, I'll go up a weight. You know, I don't have any issues in the gym with guys that are heavier than me. If anything, I probably struggle with the smaller guys. And yeah, you know, I think the proof's in the pudding. I've had in total 5 fights at 145. I've only lost 1, which had nothing to do with weight, and I've got that speed advantage.
And last one from me. Obviously, it's a big night for UK MMA. 2 Brits in title fights at the top of the card. I just wondered what your thoughts were on those 2 fights and how you think Tom and Leon will perform in those 2 fights.
Call me biased, but I think they're both going to get the job done, and I think they're going to get it done in good fashion.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot.
Nathaniel down here. This is your first fight as a father.
Yes.
How's it? Congratulations, obviously,
Thank
but
you.
how does it feel going into fight week being a dad?
It feels good, you know, it feels more pressure because I don't feel like I'm fighting for me anymore. I feel like I'm fighting for my daughter. But what motivation to have behind me. You know, if I wasn't motivated enough as it is now, I'm definitely motivated. So, you know, my whole camp, I've had a new fire inside me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to going in now Saturday night and getting to showcase it.
And a lot of people say that it changes their outlook on fighting in general in terms of the duration of how long they want to compete. Has that been the case for you, or you not thought about that?
Yeah, so I've always said that I don't want to retire at a late age. You know, I would like to retire at a young age when I've got my health, because I don't want my daughter to see me punch drunk, if you like. I don't want my daughter to see me be a gatekeeper for young up and coming fighters. You know, when you've seen fighters in the past that are, you know, struggling to hang the gloves up and it just ruins the end of their career, I don't want that to be me. So, you know, obviously I need to fight to get paid. And that's why I've got businesses outside of fighting now, because I'm hoping that one day they'll be able to cover my finances, and then all I have to do is fight when I want to for the passion, you know, not for the paycheck. But yeah, you know, I always take my health very seriously, and now, you know, being a dad is even more important. You know, I've even got life insurance now, so yeah, the perks of being a dad, right?
And final one for me, what did you make of Daniel's performance against Alex Caceres last time?
So, you know, I watched the fight. It was a good fight, you know. Obviously Alex Caceres won, but Alex is very tricky. Again, like I said earlier, I just see that Pineda fatigues a bit over time, and he does show that in the fights. You know, sometimes fighters can be fatiguing, but they've got the good poker face, and yeah, you know, when he starts to fatigue, you can see it.
Nathaniel, you are one of the biggest favourites on the card. I think you're 1 to 3 on. He's 4 to 1 to get the win. I'm just wondering, is that how you see the fight? Do you feel like this is one you really should be getting the job done?
If I'm honest, I completely ignore that, because I actually like being the underdog. You know, I prefer that. When I fought Mohamed Naimov, everyone was looking past him, and I didn't like that on fight week. You know, it felt weird when people said, "Oh, you know, this is an easy fight for you." It's the UFC. There's no such thing as an easy fight. It's 4-ounce gloves. You know, so anyone can be dangerous on the night. So yeah, you know, I'm going into this fight looking like I'm fighting Ilya Chopora for the belt. You know. But yeah, I'm always confident in my skill set that regardless who I go up against, you know, I'm going to get the win.
And that last fight you mentioned there, Mohamed, obviously it didn't go your way. What changes from that fight to this fight in terms of the camp and the preparation you're doing? Does anything change?
No, not so much anything changed. When I watched the fight back, I realised how dirty he was being. You know, in the fight, I didn't really realise it. So after, you know, I shook his hand, but nah, you know, when I watched the fight back, it pissed me off. And the one thing that I'm going to take away from it is I can make as many excuses as I like, but if I finished the fight, I wouldn't need to argue whether the ref should have deducted a point or, you know, whether the judge has got it right, whatnot. So, yeah, for me now, it's about finishing these fights and making sure that it's all in my control.
Great, good luck.
Thank you.
Nathaniel, back here. Your daughter's gone through quite the fight for her life. How much has that inspired you going into this fight?
She's made it easy for me, mate. You know, whenever I feel like, oh, I don't want to go training, or I don't want to diet down my weight, etc., I just look at her and what she's gone through, and it just toughens me up. So yeah, you know, she's made me tougher. And when I see her just smiling and cracking on with life, it makes me realise how spoiled and whingy that we can be as human beings. And yeah, you know, she's given me a positive outlook now and made me a better person.
And you've been very open about your OCD and your mental health. How important do you think it is for athletes to be open about their mental health and, you know, not see the hate that they might get for being open about stuff like that?
So definitely I think it's good to talk about it. I was fortunate enough that I've got a good family and a wife, so I can always talk about mine. I never wanted to actually bring mine out into the public because I didn't want people to maybe say that I was doing it for clout, or, you know, I know Tyson Fury at the time was talking about it. I didn't want people to go, oh, you know, he's just another one jumping on the bandwagon. So I never mentioned it until I got asked the question. And all I've had since I have been speaking about it is positive feedback. You know, people messaging me how much it helps them just seeing me talk about it. So, you know, it's a good feeling. And if I can talk about it and help people in the world, then, you know, I'm all for it. I'm not embarrassed about it. So yeah, when people ask me, you know, I'm open to conversations.
And you mentioned having other businesses outside of fighting, one of those being the Prospect Academy.
Yeah.
How fun has that been to run and be part of?
Mate, it's been great. You know, obviously, you know yourself being on board. It's a good community we've got. Me personally, I can't sit still. So, you know, when I finish my training session in the morning, for my mental health, I need to keep busy. I need to keep occupied. And starting these businesses has done that. You know, at the very beginning when I started them, it was purely to have a project, to have something to focus my mind on, and you know, stay out of the dark cloud days, if you like. And you know, it's definitely been a help. So yeah, for all those that are on board, I'm grateful to have you on there.
And my final question: cross your mind at all when you're training for him?
Not when I'm training. I have a couple of times for when USADA have come up to my house. I think, I hope you're doing the same for him. You know, seeing as he has popped before. Yeah, I would like to think that he's not doing that anymore with, you know, how strict the sport is now on that sort of stuff. But yeah, you know, I can't accuse anyone until obviously results have come in, but I imagine that USADA have tested it.
Thank you.
Any final questions?
Cool.
Thank you guys.